Now, I'm not going to kind of walk you through this. I don't actually suggest doing this, but I'm quite literally hammering in a star nut with a hammer right now. Right, this is a very special one. If you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me forever, really, always talking about On1 inbreds. It's a bike that I've wanted for a very, very long time, but I just never could find one at the right price and the right kind of condition. At times I found one that was bent or been in an accident and it was just kind of totaled, and then other times they're like full builds. Not many people want to sell them just a frame, so it just never really happened. And then in the process of looking for these bikes, I discovered a bike called the On1 456. The On1 456 is a little bit more aggressive than the inbred in the way that it's kind of geometry set up and stuff, and it's a little bit more kind of versatile for like mountain biking and mountain biking components. The 456, for example, is the different suspension it can have, so it can go from 140 up to 160. So that's pretty cool. So, you know, maybe down the line we'll change different forks and see what it's kind of capable of. I actually bought this for my birthday last year. That was when I was planning on doing this build, and I never did. My birthday's in February, so I've had another birthday since I've had this stuff, and I just never built it. So it's about time we do it. So let's stop stalling and just get on with it. So here she is, the On1 456 Evo II. First job was the headset, so obviously a little bit of grease in there. The headset is from Atelier Medium. I've used these guys for a few things in the past. The 100 mile bike had that special fork from them. I actually got this headset for that bike, but felt like the silver one looked better. This one is going to have a load of purple bling, so this was a great place to start with the purple medium headset. I know people are going to notice in the comments and they're going to say about the fact that the bottom cup goes on slightly wonky, yeah, I didn't realise at the time and it is annoying me now, but it's happened now. I'll probably fix it eventually. The fork was actually gifted to me by lovely people from Airbike. The dude there gave me this last year when I first started collecting parts for this, and it's taken me this long to build it, so I am very sorry. I know I said I was going to build this bike and it looked really cool and feature your fork, and it took me forever, but this is a sick fork. It's got a lockout. It's even got dampening on it as well, so you can change the actual rebound on it, which is super cool, and I think it looks quite cool. Talking about cool, the race or the crown race from the medium headset had like one of those cutouts on it, which I always love, and I rate those headsets just because you can take them on and off. But it also had like this rubber grommet on it. It's going to help with waterproofing, so that's pretty cool. And it fits on just like that. Well good. The stem is a Chester, or race face Chester, and I'm using these Burtech spacers. They're pink at the moment. I do change these to purple. I couldn't find the purple ones, but I use these just to measure it out. So I basically just built the stem up, put the stem on, and just scored it ready for cutting down. When it comes to cutting down, I didn't want to go too short, so that's why the stack's quite high at the moment. And then to do it, I'm doing it by hand, and I'm using this very flat stem, as you can see I've used a few times for this, as a guide when cutting it. Lots of people always tell me I should be using like a pipe cutter to do it, but there's something kind of satisfying about using a saw, and I don't have a vise, so I don't have like one of those vise mounts, so using a stem, it works kind of perfectly for me. And as you can see, it gives you a nice straight line. My DT teacher when I was in school said that watching me saw things was the most painful thing that he's ever had to do, so that's why I've sped this up so you don't actually have to see it happen. But it's satisfying. I quite like cutting it by hand. One big tip I'd say actually is do not take the stem off until you've filed it. I just loosen up the bolts, pull it down a little bit like this, and then file whilst it's on. That way when you pull the stem off, it doesn't, like, if it's going to catch, if there's still something you haven't filed enough yet, you can see that before you put your nice new stem on the fork. Now, I'm not going to kind of walk you through this. I don't actually suggest doing this, but I'm quite literally hammering in a star nut with a hammer right now. And as you can see, it is a complete hack. It's not even a bod, it's just a hack, this. I actually recently got called a backyard mechanic, and that person was aiming to use it as an insult. But this is exactly what I am, and I'm almost proud of it. So proud of it, in fact. I'm dropping some new stickers. These are the backyard mechanic stickers, little picket fence, one in white, one in pink. These are now available on saveoldbikes.com. So if you want to become one of these or wear it as a badge of honour, you now know where to find them. Anyway, let's go back to hacking this bike. So after cutting it all down, I can now put the fork in, and then I still couldn't find the spacers, so I'm still using these pink ones for now, which are pretty damn cool. I wish that you could get kind of a matching pink set for another build I'm looking at. Saying that, you can, Burtec do them. But yeah, this is what it looks like currently, but we will change that once I have found them, which I'll do later on in the video. Wheels are actually from Airbike as well, funnily enough. They don't actually sell these ones anymore, but I'm putting some Maxxis Ardents on it. These are 2.4s, 26 inch obviously, if I've not mentioned that yet. They are tubeless ready tyres, but because these rims aren't tubeless and I haven't quite got round to kind of setting them up as tubeless, or at least giving it a go, I figured I'd just put some tubes in there for now. And yeah, big tubes at that as well. I couldn't just use my normal 26 inch tubes that I had because these are big boy tyres. I've got some Shimano discs for the disc brakes. The brakes will be Shimano as well, and then some Lifeline blue bolts just because, well, I couldn't find purple, and I kind of wanted to put a little bit of blue accents in there because of the logo. I didn't want it to kind of go all purple with the anodized. Then onto the cassette. I am putting a Advent X drivetrain on this from Microshift. This is the 10-speed 1148, and it's a pretty big boy. I do like this drivetrain. I've used this on a few builds now. That hub does sound good as well. But I've used this on a few builds now, and I'm kind of hooked on it. So I'm quite excited to put it on this one as well, yes. Every now and then it's kind of nice to just step back and check it out and kind of see where you are with it. I was super happy with the way those wheels looked on the frame. I tend to leave the wheels till later on in the build just because I get a little bit carried away and excited, but yeah, it's looking good. Handlebars, I think I mentioned, the Chesters. Nice wide race face handlebars. And then we kind of came onto a problem. This is the second build in a row now where the BB has got a bit of a kink in it, and I could not thread the BB in to save my life. So I still don't actually have a BB tool for tapping. I still don't think I'm going to buy one, even though this is the second one in a row, but I did take it over to the guys over at the Leighton Bike Shack, and they recut it for me. This is a really bad bit of footage, but anyway, once they're done, we can move on. I actually got a little bit excited and banged the BB in whilst I wasn't filming, just to make sure it worked. But this is the crank I'm using. It's a little bit of a fancy one. It's brand new as well. But this is a SRAM NX crank. It's I believe it's 32 teeth cog as well. I actually needed to get some different spacers for the BB in the end because it was a little bit too tight, but I do that off camera a little bit later on as well. And then on to the drivetrain and the second problem for this bike. Essentially, the thread on the hanger on this bike, there wasn't a problem with it. As you can see, as I'm starting to screw this in, it didn't feel right, but it did go in. And what was happening when it was going in, it was re-threading the derailleur to a different pitch. So whoever had this bike before did look like they tried to recut the hanger. God, that's a really hard sentence to get out here. And they did it to wrong pitch. It should be at M10 by 1 millimeter for the pitch, where I'm pretty sure this is 1.5 because it basically mashed up the threads on the derailleur and almost made it unusable. Moral of the story is calm down, don't just ram it in there. It wasn't catching, but eventually it did catch and it was almost completely totaled. So what I did was bought a new tap, or a tapping screw. I don't actually know what this tool's called. It's for tapping anyway, or recutting. I got the right one. A lot of people were upset that I did it this way round on Instagram when I posted this. The only reason you would do it from the other side usually is the fact that the threads on the outer side or the inside of the hanger are usually not damaged. It'll be the ones at the start of the thread that usually are damaged, so doing it from that side helps. In this case, they weren't damaged, they just were the wrong pitch, so I just needed to recut it basically. And it came out really good, super easy. Probably still should have took the wheel off though, because getting stuff all over the cassette, but yeah, it is fine. Moving on to the brakes, I didn't realise that when you buy new disc brakes, they don't often come with the hanger or the spacer or this bit. I don't know what this thing's called. So luckily I'm a bike guy and I had one knocking about, but this is getting some Hydro Shimano's, the BL MT200s. These things are supposed to be really good for the price. I forget how much I actually pay for these, but retail I think they go for about £30-40 each. I definitely got mine a lot cheaper than that on some sort of sale. I've had them a long time now, but yeah, they're meant to be amazing for the price. I put the seat post in at this point just so I could hang it from that, so I could do the cabling. I've got a Brand X dropper on it. I don't know exactly the height I needed, so I just went for the cheapest for now. I think it's probably about right, to be honest. I'll find out when I actually start riding it properly. But wiring it up was pretty straightforward. To be honest, at this stage, when I started getting all these extra cables, there was a lot of cabling to be done on this bike. I had the dropper, rear derailleur, and then the 2 hydraulic disc brakes. And it just... it was a little bit tricky, so I don't have a lot of footage of how I did it, because it was a lot of just messing around, doing stuff and undoing it again. The biggest thing when it comes to cabling is just take your time, and yeah, just take it slowly. Chain time, I give it a good clean before. Always wash off your factory grease. It's sticky as hell and it's not designed for chain running. It's just to stop it from rusting. People always argue me with that, but I'm pretty certain that's the truth. I always find it better cleaning it anyway and then giving it a good lube, then cutting it and putting it on. I wanted a black chain, couldn't find one, so this black and silver one is kind of like second best. One thing I do like to do once I get the chain on is by hand just push the derailleur in just to see if it's kind of like shifting okay. I say shifting okay, just the fact it's the spacing and the sizing, especially as I had no idea if this bike would accept all these kind of gearings, but it felt really good. It looked like it was going to work perfectly. For the seat, I decided to go for an invisible seat. It's a invisible charged spoon, if you look really closely, you can just about make it out. But it's one of my favorite saddles, and yeah, thought I'd go for that one. The grips are DMR Def grips. These things are my kind of go-to at the moment. I don't think I've used other grips apart from these. There's a couple I want to try, but for now this is what I'm using. And these are the Sam Hill kind of nuke proof pedals. These are like 100 quid usually, and I found them uber cheap, so I wanted to try them out. They look super good. These Advent X derailleurs are super easy to set up. They're one of the easiest ones I've had. I feel like you just kind of get it all plumbed in and it just works every time. But making sure I get my limited screws all done, and then a little bit of tweaking, get a little bit of tension on the cable, and it works really well. After about 100-200 miles, it does need a little bit of tweaking then, but that's just usually cable stretch, so that's pretty understandable and acceptable in my mind. I do want to do a derailleur setup video soon, so do let me know in the comments below if that's something you'd be interested in. The last thing to sort out with the cabling was the actual brake hoses. They were crazy long, which is good, that's understandable. So I trimmed them down and plumbed them back in. I will share a bit more on this in more detail in the video. I want to do a little bit of a hose trimming kind of video, just because I think there's a lot of good information in there, and would have taken up another 10-15 minutes of this video, so I decided to leave it out for now. So let me know in the comments and subscribe if that's something you'd be interested in. The dropper lever had this really horrible kind of, I don't know, like bendy kind of metal thing on it, like to kind of like guide it. Rubbish, hated it, looked rubbish, so I'm getting rid of that. Luckily I had this thing. This is a very cheap dropper lever that I had. I don't even know why I have it, but I have it for some reason. So I put that on there and it feels and looks way better. So yeah, pretty chuffed with that. But that's it. We have a new build to put in the fleet. Now that is a very special build. I love the way it looks, I love all the components I chose, everything just feels kind of just excellent. Excellent. The only thing that I think I do want to maybe tinker with is the fact that I'm wondering if a longer stem would make it a little bit more kind of agile. At the moment I feel like it's a little bit twitchy and a bit kind of pokey, which is good for the type of ride I want to do with it, but I'm wondering if I did build it for more long distance kind of cross country stuff, a little bit of a longer stem might be more comfortable. So we'll see what happens in the future. I also don't have any kind of ride footage of it yet, because essentially I haven't. I've taken it around the block, I've taken it around just kind of like take photos of it, but that's it. That's all I've done with it so far. So do stick around, because there is more videos coming on this bike. This is something I've been wanting to build for a very long time and I finally have it. So we're probably going to use it a lot. So don't forget about the stickers as well. There's lots of different stickers on my website. It does really help me with these builds that you guys essentially are building these bikes by buying my stickers, so I'm super grateful for it. It is saveoldbikes.com. There's a few other things on there like t-shirts and hats and mugs and cool stuff like that. So if you're interested in helping me out, that'd be awesome. Another really good thing you can do to help me is comment below and like this video, and that costs you nothing. So if you did like this build, or if there's something you would change on it, or just something you want to tell me about bikes and stuff, pop it down below. But if you enjoy this type of content, do feel free to subscribe to the channel. And if you can't wait until next week's video, which is going to be a very good one, that one is a particularly good one.